All right, hello everyone, and to our audience. This is Luke Brett here from the EPC show. I'm excited to be joined by Daniel Duss, who is the CEO USA of Green Hydrogen Project Developer, owner and operator of ACME Group. How are you doing, Daniel? Great for you to join us.
Yes, thank you, Luke. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, in this interview, we're going to be going over policy and regulatory hurdles, lessons from developing projects, contracting and partnerships, and then finally de-risking and scaling, are key facets for making this hydrogen market a reality. So I'll waste no time and jump straight in. Obviously, a big challenge right now is policy complexity and uncertainty. So, Daniel, given the evolving regulatory landscape for green hydrogen, what are the most significant challenges you face in securing necessary permits and approval for your projects?
Yeah, of course. Well, we have the triumvirate of unknown program details in Japan for the Contract for Differences program, RFMBO, RED 2 in Europe, and still awaiting final guidance on 45V in the United States. So a lot more uncertainty than certainty. And of course, that impacts everything about our project equipment sizing, legal contracting, permitting, land requirements, siting, etc. So it's exciting, hopefully, to see those programs finalized over the next 12 months. In the meantime, we've planned for what we've always assumed to be the worst case scenario, which is essentially real-time matching of renewable power. We do that for multiple reasons. One, because we want to have projects that are actionable now without having to wait for all of that final guidance, but also because we believe in the long-term value of ultra-green molecules and correspondingly 24/7 renewable electrons that they can produce. So, we've always taken a worst case scenario approach, and that's really benefited our project development here in the United States as well.
Yeah, and then on that, so how have government incentives and subsidies actually influenced your project development strategy, and what changes would you like to see in these policies to help you get these projects off the ground at a quicker pace?
Yeah, of course. So what we've done is we've planned again for a worst case scenario in which we need real-time matching of green electrons to green molecules. And we've identified offtake. We're under term sheets for offtake with a specialty chemicals manufacturer for current consumption of theirs for green ammonia. And we've planned our financing, all of our legal structuring and project structuring based on that worst case scenario so that we can move forward now rather than having to wait for those programs. But we, of course, do want to optimize plant performance based on those programs. And we're certainly beholden to 45V at a minimum, being this project being based in the United States. So we really hope for a couple of things. We really hope that Japan's Contract for Differences program, the European programs, and the 45V final guidance will work well together to allow us to serve the global community. And that's very important for us with announced projects in Oman, in construction, in India, and in the United States. We'll be serving often off-takers from multiple locations potentially and able to de-risk our off-take agreements and commitments accordingly. So it's very important. But right now we're looking at all those programs as optimization. We also hope that there will be some softening of the 45V guidance, specifically moving from an hourly matching to maybe a monthly matching is the rumor that we hear right now. We think that'd be a great step and allow us to improve project economics and open up more markets for the green molecules. But in the meantime, we're moving forward with a base case project that's actionable today.
And you mentioned a couple of those geographies that you're active in. What key factors do you consider when selecting these project sites, and how do you address the common challenges for this industry, like the necessary infrastructure and pipelines and electrolyzers, and obviously working in remote and underserved areas?
Yeah, absolutely. As with all things real estate and development, it's location, location, location. And ACME is a global player and a global developer, so we truly assess all AHJ's jurisdictions. And we're looking for, with hydrogen ammonia, quite a complex mix of items. Of course, we're looking for preferably deep water port access, In our case, we were looking for existing ammonia infrastructure, which we found for our siting in the United States. We're looking for hopefully pipeline access to, again, de-risk our offtake contracts through having pipeline storage, access to additional markets. We're certainly looking for access to a tremendous amount of water, and we're looking for great solar irradiation. Our key advantage is delivering ultra low cost solar molecules. 65-ish% of the low cost green hydrogen molecule that we deliver is the cost of the solar electron. So we're looking for lots and lots of flat land with excellent solar irradiation that also has access to all those other infrastructure requirements I mentioned. And we have all of that. We're looking at multiple sites in the United States and actively developing, including a Port Victoria Gulf Coast project that we're very excited about that has that unique mix of all of these attributes.
Amazing. And how do you engage the community as well, particularly in relation to environmental impacts, land use changes, and all the other kind of land-based and community-based challenges associated with green hydrogen projects?
Yeah, we focus on local partnerships. Local partnerships allow you to have your ear to the ground, collect feedback, and have a true dialogue with the local community, without whom you will not have a successful project. We also rely heavily on best-in-class advisors around environmental issues, siting, engineering, independent engineering reviews, etc. Very important for us to work with the best and the best to make sure we have the brightest minds working on ensuring projects meet and exceed all industry standards for safety, environmental impact, etc. Citing a green project and having it not meet environmental standards would be a true irony. So we focus heavily on that, as well as community engagement through local partnerships. Of course, we have budgets for additional community support. Of course, we plan for a significant amount of property tax payment as part of our projects, and participate in the community in a variety of ways. But without community engagement, again, no project. Top priority.
Yeah, and part of that, of course, is the supply chain challenges, particularly as this is a very nascent sector. I wanted to ask then, what are the biggest challenges you've encountered in securing reliable and cost-effective supplies of renewable energy and electrolyzers, and any other kind of supply chain challenges that you've faced along the way for rolling out this technology?
Yeah, of course, it is a fascinating supply chain environment these days and has been ever since COVID, and remains so, not least of which are global anti-dumping and tariff regimes, which have to be carefully navigated. Again, we look at sourcing from a global perspective. We have hundreds of engineers focused on this every day, and we do a top-down, bottom-up approach to costing, equipment costing, etc. As the only provider in the world that has an actual operating asset for the past 3 years, because we integrated and built and own and operate the world's first solar, green hydrogen, and green ammonia asset. We have performance data from a variety of OEMs and have field tested a variety of equipment. So of course, that's extraordinarily helpful for us to gain comfort, as well as for us to demonstrate comfort to our off-takers and our financial partners. And so we fully control the solar supply chain. As a low-cost leader there, we are building a half-gig solar module manufacturing center in India right now. We will fully control project delivery so that we have guaranteed access to ultra low-cost solar electrons. And that's critical to the project. It's really the essence of ACME's advantage in the marketplace. So we fully control and will even self-perform the construction execution of our solar assets in the United States to drive that efficiency into that part of the process. Access to grid renewables is one of two methods. You're either forward contracting at a relatively high cost, and in fact, in our modeling, doing so can be beneficial to overall plant economics, or you're relying in real-time hour or day-ahead markets, depending on availability of compliant electrons. And at our point of interconnection in South Texas, power pricing is negative a significant portion of the year. You can often buy wind in overnight hours at $5, $6 per megawatt hour. That's extremely low cost. So you can imagine how cheaply we can manufacture hydrogen and ammonia with inputs like that, feedstock like that. So ultimately, we have to decide on the finalization of the regulatory regimes before we finalize our sort of core plus model. Again, we've planned for worst case scenario, direct delivery of solar electrons, hydrogen production to a dedicated offtake with current demand in order to have a project today. Everything else for us is upside. All that grid access is upside. So we're
Mm.
excited about that.
Yeah, and you know, it's a privileged position to be in. But and I want to ask then also how you're identifying, cultivating the strategic partnership with those technology providers, critically as well, off takers, a real key piece of the
Mm-hmm.
pie for getting projects past FID. FID, and
Yeah.
also investors, of course, to de-risk these projects and scale them up as well.
Yeah. On the supply side, scales really tipped when we had active projects that were financed and in construction, and were an active buyer. There are actually very few active buyers. A lot of announced projects, very few with offtake in construction and confirmed financing. And so that's really helped us to develop those relationships with suppliers, and to help grow those relationships. Again, we're also comfortable moving up or down the value chain in terms of our level of integration as necessary. We have multiple sites identified for a potential electrolyzer assembly facility. Depending on how that supply chain emerges, our announced project demand would be a substantial portion of the entire annual electrolyzer capacity today. And so it's important for us to fully control that if we have to. So that's kind of worst case planning again, to go back to that and control. But on the offtake side, we've regularly sourced offtake through competitive solicitations. And so that's the benefit of being a low cost leader. And again, our low cost leadership in hydrogen stems from our low cost leadership in solar. ACME is at 10 gigawatts of in construction operating solar assets and signed one of the world's first PPAs at 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour 8+ years ago. And so has a long time leadership position there that we leverage to have some advantage in the marketplace to advance projects, secure supply for those projects as they're confirmed early. We do expect a wave of projects to hit next year, second half of next year, as these programs crystallize. But again, given that we're in a position to progress core projects now, it's beneficial.
And what strategies are you going to employ to mitigate the other kind of financial risks, such as the
Mm-hmm.
fluctuating energy prices and the regulatory changes? I know that's been coming up quite a bit, and
Yeah.
and ultimately just ensure the long-term viability of your projects that you're pressing ahead with.
Yeah. To put financiers at ease is a top priority for us. We've been in touch with banks on Wall Street from the day we entered the US market, because it's a top priority. No financing, no project. Having closed multiple financings for this technology and asset class globally with other projects is extremely helpful. Having data from an operating asset is extraordinarily helpful. Of course, some of the burden will still be on us to provide guarantees of various sorts. So that's a constantly top of mind. Again, we use best-in-class advisors for independent engineering and reviews of our work to confirm the quality of our work and its compliance with best practices, as well as the various regulatory regimes. ACME received the world's first certified green project certification from TÜV Rheinland for green hydrogen, green ammonia. So those types of partnerships are critical to putting the finance community at ease. None of the individual technology is new. Electrolyzers have been around a long time. Solar's been around a very long time. Compression, piping, etc., all been around a long time. It's simply this unique integration of existing technologies. It's not a huge leap of faith, but it does require attention, focus, and there's some nuance there for sure.
And growing pains as well. I imagine. What are the key challenges
Oh yeah.
you're going to be anticipating as well, whilst looking at the scaling aspect of this, and how do you plan to overcome them?
So we, in deploying the world's first solar to green hydrogen, green ammonia project, we had some equipment that failed 2 or 3 times in the first 12 months of operation. We were often educating OEMs how to manufacture the equipment to operate in that intermittent environment. And a lot of learnings there. And we're happy to report that for the past 2 years, that plant has been operating except for planned downtime, which is phenomenal. And but as you mentioned, a lot of growing pains and learnings there, but always best to do that on the first project rather than on large scale assets. So that was super helpful, and we're able to bring that to the marketplace and our partnerships.
Amazing. Well, Daniel, that's all the questions I have. Thank you so much for sharing some really fascinating insights, particularly with the experience you have firsthand on operating projects. There's not many of them live. Thank you again for your time, and look forward to keeping in touch in the future ahead of our EPC show.
Yeah, thanks, Luke, so much. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.